pleasure to open the August meeting of the Oswego County Legislature here in Alaska once again. It's an annual trip up here for us, and we all enjoy it, and we're very happy to be here. And we're all happy to hope the people of Alaska are happy to have us. At this time, I would like to call on the clerk to call the roll.
Here. Skinner.
Here.
Edith.
Here.
Bryant.
Here.
Brewer.
Here.
Sahosky. Boynton.
Here.
Weinhold. Frawley.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Keeney.
Here.
Beckwith.
Here.
McMahon.
Here.
Murray.
Here.
Warrendorf.
Here.
Jarrett.
Here.
Greenfield.
Here.
Benchak.
Here.
Shalafu. Ponzi.
Here.
Chetney. Turner. Walker.
Here.
Bateman.
Here.
Sedek. Babcock. Brown. Ward.
Here.
Randall.
Here.
Balcom.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Chesbro.
Here.
Church.
Here.
Buck.
Here.
Tabor. Russell.
Here. This time I will call upon Legislator Ted Jarrett to lead us in the invocation of pledge of allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, today as we sit at our county's second seat of government, we strive for a better tomorrow. We ask that you bring out in each of us the best that we have, and to join us together through your love and compassion, that we may reflect reflect that well through our efforts here today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to accept the minutes of the last regular meeting of the legislature? Motion has been made and seconded.
On page 2, where it says legislator Baker congratulated high school varsity team for coming in second place 3 years in a row, that is incorrect. It should read congratulated high school varsity team for winning the Section 3 Class A championship for 3 years in a row. Thank you.
The other correction here. The first page, paragraph 2, it says legislator probably presented a written copy. I never started anything with the good Lord places any obstacles. It's totally not what I said. It had to do with the sludge from the 2 potential plants that we have coming here. It addressed the sludge thing, not the good Lord. That whole paragraph strike. Huh? No. No. Other corrections, additions, and deletions. And I would entertain a motion again to move to accept the minutes with the corrections and changes as indicated. Motion has been made and seconded. If there is no further discussion. Aye. Opposed? And that's accepted. At this time, I would like to call upon Legislator Chetney for a presentation of the committee.
The Economic Development and Tourism Commission, along with Captain.
Helen's asked, can you hear me okay? Helen's asked me to just bring you up to date on some of the important work that's been going on here in Pulaski that has to do with the sport fishing and tourism industry. Sport fishing is an important part of our Oswego County tourism industry, so much to the effect that DEC has estimated its economic impact at $54 million. It's especially important to the economic well-being of the village of Pulaski and the surrounding towns. Over the last few years, there has been a lot of controversy about snagging, dividing both anglers and the community. But the fact is that now New York state law bans snagging. This fishery and the communities that depend on it will go through a transition period. We need to reach new consumers, and we need to help our returning consumers learn new methods for fishing and also help our local residents to learn new methods to fish successfully in the Salmon River and Lake Ontario tributaries. The New York State Legislature, especially Senator Wright and Assemblywoman Sullivan and the DEC, have been working very hard to help us during this transition period. Senator Wright has been instrumental in obtaining a member item funding of $25,000 for the Promotion and Tourism Office to do additional advertising and promotion for the Salmon River Corridor. Also $75,000 for the Salmon River Hatchery, and we thank him very much for those efforts. Through the efforts of DEC, a committee has been put together to hammer out a plan to help mitigate any negative effects the ban on snagging might cause and to help us get through this transition period. We have invited Bob Lang from DEC to say a few words about the work of the committee and give a progress report to the legislature. After Bob speaks, we'd like to have some representatives from the committee that have joined us today come up so that you can see who they are and thank them for their hard efforts and the work that they've been doing. Bob?
Executive Osbelt, Mr. Chairman, members of the legislature, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Department of Environmental Conservation and Commissioner Michael Zagata, I'd like to say how pleased I am to be here today and tell you about the work of the Salmon River Sport Fishing Promotion Committee. This committee has been active for the past several months, working for a common goal of making the Salmon River the premier tributary fishery in New York State as part of the larger Lake Ontario fishery. Lake Ontario has been and will remain the most important freshwater fishery within the state of New York, and the Salmon River has and will continue to play a vital role in that fishery, not only as the major tributary fishery that supports that, but also the site of the Salmon River Fish Hatchery, which is the principal fish propagation facility that we use to support the Lake Ontario fishery and the source of the eggs for many of the fish that are stocked into Lake Ontario. The committee, over 3 meetings now, has been working diligently to bring the Salmon River fishery into the future in the most positive and the most productive manner possible. We have been working on developing education and promotional tools, including brochures, videos, and other types of promotional materials that will tell the sport fishing community throughout North America that this is the place to go if you want to catch big trout, salmon, and steelhead. We have also been working very hard to upgrade the Salmon River Fish Hatchery so that it is not only a premier fish rearing facility, but it is also a premier attraction for visitors to this area. We will be working very hard to make sure that the Salmon River Fish Hatchery is visitor-friendly and a destination unto itself that will help to accommodate visitors to this area. And I would like to reiterate the thanks that Kathy Pekinis gave to Senator Wright for the legislative grant that is instrumental in providing the resources for us to do this. I don't want to speak at any length today. I just would like to reiterate that Commissioner Zagata has emphasized to all of the staff of the Department of Environmental Conservation how important it is to work together to build a positive future for New York State, and how state government, county government, local government, the business community, and all the residents can and must work together to build the best common future that accommodates the well-being of local citizens as well as the residents of the state of New York. Thank you. I'd like to ask the members of the Salmon River Sport Fishing Promotion Committee who are here today to step forward. Les Wedge from DEC, Fran Vertoliva, Legislator Steve Balcom, Legislator Carl Anson, Jerry Cole, Mayor Connie Haas, Doug Fugel, and Chuck Krupke.
Steve, you're tall. Come in the back.
Sure. Close it in. Everybody in there? I think we're all in. I think good.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the legislature, I'm pleased to be here today to present an award on behalf of Operation Oswego County. As president of Operation Oswego County, each year at our annual meeting we recognize some industries, business, and agencies and individuals who help us complete successfully our efforts for improvement of the economic development in Oswego County. One of those awards is the Martin Rose Economic Developer Merit Award, given to an individual who's recognized for his outstanding dedication, commitment, vision, and support in bringing to fruition programs and projects that have and will continue to enhance the economy and quality of life in Oswego County. We feel that the individual we selected this year has done all of that not only in his present position, but in his past positions with the county. And on behalf of Operation Oswego County, we'd like to present this award to Art Oswald, who we feel is more than deserving of it. Art, thank you. I'd like to read the inscription on the plaque. Operation Oswego County Incorporated, Marty Rose Economic Developer Merit Award, presented to Arthur Oswald in recognition and appreciation for his outstanding dedication, commitment, vision, and support in bringing to fruition programs and projects that have and will continue to enhance the economy and the quality of life in Oswego County, New York, for his integral role in the development of the Oswego County Industrial Park, the county's energy recovery facility, and its state-of-the-art comprehensive solid waste program, and for his leadership in serving on the Board of Directors of Operation Oswego County as a member and ex-officio member since 1983, member of the Oswego County IDA since 1984, supervisor of the town of Squircle from 1970 to 90, county legislator from 1970 to 77, chairman of the county legislature from 76 to 77, superintendent of public works 77 to 90, and county administrator since 1990, July 17, 1995. On behalf of Operation Oswego County, we'd like to congratulate the county for having Art as one of its employees working toward the economic development improvement in the county. Thank you.
I'd like to just take a second to thank the people in Operation Oswego County for picking me. It's always a pleasure, it's an honor really to be picked by your peers for some kind of a award like this. This is a very special award to me. Marty Rose, I worked with Marty Rose in economic development for a number of years when he was on there. A man that had some vision. He didn't have vision like you and I have, but he had some vision that was for Oswego County that's very, very, very outstanding. Great man to work for. This is one reward that I cherish very deeply, and again, I want to thank your legislators, and I got to thank the people in the town of Scoop for getting me started in this business, and I want to thank you all. Thank you very much.
First members of the Personnel Committee, Nancy, come forward, please. Is that all right now? Okay. As we all know, these are hard times for the employees at the County Department of Employment and Training. The operation's been shrinking. A number of you have gotten a card from Nancy Bello that she's on the move, and she's been moved. Last week, the Personnel Committee had an opportunity to see what is happening, and it is grim times for the division, as she can certainly explain to you. But through all of this, the work that the department has done, as always, has been superlative. And we've just received another recognition of the superlative performance of this department by being asked to join Enterprise. And Enterprise, to quote from the document, is a nationwide network of certified dislocated worker organizations that offer high-quality, customer-focused services using successful process management techniques adopted from the private sector. And those organizations that are asked to join have to fulfill three different standards: superior performance, highest customer satisfaction and quality management practices. The Oswego operation has done more than that. It's with great pride that I'd like to present the Certificate of Membership to Enterprise to Nancy Bello.
Perhaps I can give you just a little bit further explanation of the enterprise. As it says on the plaque, the enterprise is a national organization dedicated to superior performance, outstanding customer satisfaction, and continuous improvement in management. It's a franchise-like organization. The notion is that just like FTD, any florist that you go into and has that FTD emblem on the door, you know that you can obtain the same kind of service, the same quality of service, whether you're in Oswego, New York, or Santa Monica, California. And so that's the notion. We have on our door in the county building in Fulton a sticker, the logo of the enterprise. And in order to join the enterprise, superior performance, the standard or threshold meant that 80% of those dislocated workers that have been served by your program must have gotten a job. We were able to exceed that performance standard. Our 91% of all of the dislocated workers that use our services get a job. In terms of outstanding customer satisfaction, an independent national organization did a survey of all of the customers who were served by our program and compared it to those around the country. The threshold was an overall customer satisfaction rating of 75%. We achieved an 83% customer satisfaction rating. And in terms of continuous quality management, there were several grades of completion. There were, out of a total 3 points, we achieved a 2.6 rating, which meant that we were in the top 10% of those in the country. The enterprise itself is overseen by an organization called the Enterprise Council, of which I am a member. The Enterprise Council is made up of folks from the local level, my colleagues of mine across the country, people from state government across the country, as well as representatives from the federal government. We began working on establishing the enterprise about a year and a half ago, and will continue to oversee the enterprise in terms of its continuing membership. The Enterprise Council was awarded in Washington a Golden Hammer Award for our efforts in terms of reinventing government in an effort to instill private sector-like management in a government sector organization. So the staff of Employment and Training continue to serve you well, and we thank you for your support and appreciate the opportunity to work for you.
If I may add something to that, I had the good fortune to be invited to Washington, D.C. when Nancy received this award. It was a matter of great pride for me to be able to stand on that stage with her in front of all the people from all across this country. To know that we had such a person in our employee here at Oswego County. I think we should all be very proud of her. Thank you. This time, I would like to offer the floor for the introduction of visitors and members of the public who wish to. Oh, excuse me, I have one more. I'd like to call on Legislator Malcolm, who will introduce the historian of this town, who has addressed this meeting every year for several years. Legislator Malcolm.
Would you want me to introduce all my guests now, and married people, or just married?
Very first, whatever way you want to.
Okay, because you'd like just married now? Okay, and as our chairman says, Barry Parker, our village historian, is here each year and God bless her, she does a super job on the work that she does with the historic events that have happened in the past, bringing it to our attention today. And so, Mary, I'm glad you're here with us today, and we'll be anxious to hear what you've got to say today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll have to adjust this a little bit. I come from the short generation, so we're down. A few of us are still left, I think. The chairman, members of the Oswego County Legislature, and guests. Now, I'd like you to sort of raise your hand. If you're not picking me up in the back there, I can do something. I'm not sure what. Speak louder. Very recently, a young woman from East Rochester called the town of Richland office, and by the way, I no longer am the village historian. That's Mr. and Mrs. Mandigo. They're two. And the town, we've gotten so that one of these offices is about all any one person could hold. She wanted to find out more about a John Davis, who was the first sheriff of Oswego County. We could use your help on this, too. He lived in Pulaski, and his name is on the earliest foundation stone of the first courthouse in this county, this one in which you are. The date, 1819. So far, there is little about Mr. Davis other than he served as sheriff a few years. Something may turn up later. The Davis inquiry turned my thoughts to 1819 and the period just before and after. Here sat the first courthouse in a wilderness. Well, not quite. The primeval forest had been cut near the Salmon River to drill a militia in 1814. Our present parks and business sections sit there. A log cabin store was nearby, an inn, and a few dwelling cabins to the south. To our north, churchgoers left their building to watch the battles between the British and the U.S. Navy on Mexico Bay. In 1816, they suffered through a long year of no summer and resulting lack of a fall harvest for the long winter. A government that seemed ineffectual, forts now with nothing to protect, and neglect was setting in there. In a very few years, the Erie Canal, the Oswego and Black River canals would be built. Natural resources were abundant, good soil, forests, water, and people of New England and Canadian ancestry with skills and courage. In 1820, the traffic was increasing on Lake Ontario between Canada and Oswego, but all was not good. The schooners had to contend with what we all know now as Lake Ontario's cantankerous ways: wind and waves, shallow shores, and shifting sands. Those today interested in searching for wrecks on the lake's bottom can't believe how difficult that search is. East, west, north, and south. These winds take the tumbling waters into shore at cross purposes. Shifting sands complete the cover-up. In 1820, coming out of Queenstown, Canada, was a ship called the ASP. Its story has been made into a poem honoring Pulaski area people, local men, including Levi Tryon, who went to the rescue of people, including a woman, who died clinging to the mast near Selkirk Beach. Some time ago, I was visited by a young woman from Whitestown, New York. This area was where the flour was ground for this region, who was working on their bicentennial. The son of an early mayor there died on the Asp. Brown's Landing Cemetery on Lake Road, Route 5, town of Richland, is a sailor's cemetery, many unknown graves. My point is that those were very difficult times, lost at sea, working in the wilderness, making potash, or fighting the British, or bad weather. These may seem romantic in a novel, a video, or a movie. They are not. This was reality. as our ancestors had to deal with it in a forthright way and go on just as their ancestors in Europe or the New England states had done before. We know what lay ahead after 1819 and 20. Bad economic times, wars here and abroad, politicians who couldn't get it together in their parties, persecution for Mormons and Masons, the trek west across rivers and deserts fighting Indians, the return home from the gold fields empty-handed. Well, how come it came out as well as it did? Railroads were built, waterways tamed, more freedoms won, laws passed, tossed out or changed to meet the times. We are now honoring our dead and living 175 years after the ASP foundered. Yet politicos make remarks about each other's stature, the environment, and even poultry. This for the media play often. Yesterday, I was on Syracuse Salina Street as the solemn drum beats of those remembering or protesting the Hiroshima and Nagasaki events echoed through complete silence. The theme stenciled on the sidewalks was, "No more wars." The Greenpeace persons circled through the crowd with leaflets. Is it possible? Can we do it? Our early settlers had echoing in their ears Patrick Henry's inflammatory speech, "Gentlemen, you cry peace, but there is no peace." As I look around here today, and I really would like to know how many of you are veterans or families of veterans here today, because this is the 50th anniversary. World War II, 50 years. I'm just speaking of that right now, rather than Korea, Vietnam, and so on. Excuse me. I think of my nearly 8 decades on Earth, remembering my students who were in World War II, as I was, as service people in 1945, those who died from 1941 to Desert Storm, who served their country well, one as a commanding officer of the proud 174th. It is hard to be optimistic, but you know I am. You legislators and your aides face changes you and I would not have thought possible back when Bruce Soul first quietly asked if I would address you. As the federal government tosses problems back to you and your constituency to solve and pay for, it will be difficult mentally, but also physical stress and strain will tell. I look back on the 1950s in our public and private schools as the golden years, or the 1970s in schools as a period when the people took over to make changes. We had heard in the last 25 years, "I'll do it my way. Don't tell me what to do," and even F you. I learned that in the classroom. Drug use, domestic disputes, or gender changes came about. It hasn't been easy, has it? But there are lights at the end of the tunnel, just as there were when John Davis had to keep order in the wilderness and the sailors on the Asp faced Lake Ontario's thundering waves. Good luck to all of you in the months ahead as we redo the nation to be even more responsive to our thinking people, your constituency. Thank you.
Legislator Belton, would you have other people here you'd like to introduce now?
Yes, before I introduce the people that are here today from the Pulaski area, I'd like to thank all the state officials, if any of them are still here, and the government officials, elected officials, and the public here today to this fine building that has been just recently restored. One of the gentlemen that's involved in it is Glenn Smith over there. Glenn, stand up, Glenn. And, welcome all you people here today. miss somebody, I'm going to ask at the end if I should miss somebody. One of them's already disappeared over there. But anyways, I'd like to introduce a gentleman that's a member of the village board, village trustee. He was a businessman here, very involved in the community. Ed Delaney. Next gentleman is running for committeeman in the 6th district in Pulaski as a Republican. And he's also on the town planning board, Dave Waters. Businessman, as well as he's a councilman on the town Richland board. He also serves on the Gold 2000 Plus committee, Rocky Burns. As I'm scanning the group here, we've got our mayor, Connie Haas, our lady mayor. Did I miss anybody? Very good. Thank you. Somebody's hands up now. Okay.
I'd like to introduce two people from the town of Hastings here. We have Ann Shilley and Bill Shilley, and Ann is the Republican State Committee person who will be no longer serving in a few months. She's served for a number of years. She's been very active in the Hastings area, and her husband and her, you see them constantly at environmental meetings, at town meetings, and they've, over the course of a number of years, they've been very active in doing various things to make the community a better community. We're going to miss her in the state committee area, but we know that she'll be very active in other areas, and I want to acknowledge her and her husband. They're both sitting in the back, and I would hope that Frank could put together something and send her a nice letter thanking her for years of service.
Doug is going to be running for town supervisor in my town also, and I'm also proud to introduce Colin Seidlin today, now one of my residents in Western Row, and our cabinet chairman, as well as the legislator.
I'd like to introduce a good friend of mine, Billy Summers, who's running for county legislator in Granby. He was a legislator for a couple of years before he might run again, and I know this man's going to get elected.
Johnny Legistator, I'd like to introduce Ron Ciccone, and he's my opponent this fall in the legislative election.
I'd like to introduce Ken Myers. He's running for legislation, and he's the 4th ward in Fulton.
I'd like to introduce Legistator. He's running for legislator in the town of Mexico. I'd like to introduce our present supervisor for the town of Mexico, Tom McLaughlin, and I don't know if it's official yet, Tom, but he's going to be the new chairman of the Oswego Port Authority. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Roger Lansing, an extension of my time, and also running for the position of county legislator. I'd like to introduce Mr. Morris Sorbello, Jr. from the town of Granby. Morris, would you stand up? Background about Morris is one of the largest produce farmers over in the town of Granby. He's running in the 20th county in the great town of Granby. I'd also like to introduce Mr. William Summers.
In the absence of Legislator Sahaski, I'd like to introduce our Republican candidate for City of Fulton Mayor, James Mitchell.
Any petitions, communications, or notices?
Chairman. On behalf of the Rural Resource Extension Committee, I'm giving this report with a lot of pride for what that organization has done since January 1st, 1995. The Cooperative Extension has attracted over $106,000 into Oswego County since the first of the year. $37,500 from the Invisible Fence Corporation for deer management and orchard research. $1,000 from Cornell University for small business graduate studies. $2,400 from the 4-H Foundation to underwrite the 4-H campaign for county youth. $50,000 from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services for expanded Oswego County nutrition educational outreach. $4,330 from Cornell University Office of Sponsored Programs for integrated pest management for Oswego County strawberry growers. $500 for the Standard Bred and Harness Racing Association to host the Oswego County Standard Bred Day Horse Clinic. $5,970 from HUD and the Fulton Community Development Authority for micro and enterprise education and technical assistance. And this is the last one, but there's more. $2,200 from Rutgers University for potato lake blight research. Also, we have some individuals, I wish they were all here. You're talking about national awards. Agent Steve Brown, named the winner of the National Association of Extension 4-H Agents 1995 Achievement and Service Award. He was the only agent in Oswego County, and he was the only agent in New York to be so recognized for this award. You also know that Dale Young just retired after 28 years of service to Cooperative Extension, and Dale and Regina Rickenberg and Keith Servison and Mike Brower, they won the national first runner-up for the National Association of County Agricultural Agents Pride Award. Also, the 4-H Science Program Assistant Joan Cawley was the only one of 3 programs in administrative assistance in New York State to be awarded the Outstanding 4-H Support Staff Member of any county cooperative extension organization. I would like to recognize Regina Reckenberg. She's taking over from Dale Young. We say she's definitely the big shoes, but she's already been doing the job, and she was awarded the National Pride Award. Also, and her program assistant, Joan, and administrative assistant, Karen Myers, won the 1995 New York County Agents Association Teams Newsletter Communication Award for Oswego County's benchmark monthly publication, The Art and Garden. I'd like to introduce Regina. Give her a hand. I'd also like to introduce the Director of Cornell Cooperative Extension for the Association of Oswego County, Mike Brower. Worked with an organization such as this Cooperative Extension 4-H. I started back in 1979 with them, and then I was absent from there for many years and took over as chairman a year ago, or 2 years ago, and I don't think I've had any more fun and privilege and pleasure of working with an energetic, good organization like the Oswego County Cooperative Extension. Thank you.
I'll be very brief. We're going to be talking about spending money here today. I'd like to talk about some money that we're not going to be spending. In last Tuesday's paper, there was an article that says that the health department is going to begin charging $15 to test water samples. I think we've lost sight of how important this particular issue is. 5 out of the 6 members on the health department are all on public water drinking systems that are chlorinated. Therefore, they and their constituents don't have this worry. Just last year in Constantia, we had a lot of flooding, and the year before.
and when the flooding took place, it infiltrated the wells. The septic systems down there got into the wells. We had a little boy from West Monroe, just a little more than a year old, very sick. They couldn't find out what was wrong with him. Finally, they tested the water, and his water was all right at his house. Another week went by, and he's in the emergency room again. This time, he almost died. They tested his grandparents' water in the town of Hastings, and he had the parasite Giardia. This sticks with you your whole life. It can cause death. But because they found out what it was, they saved his life. This test cost the county $12. They're going to be charging $15. Last year, they spent, with the floods, $11,995 for the entire year. Our county health officer, Dr. Grant, for years told me when I was on the health department that this was the single most important issue with infants and young children. Once they get sick, you can't find out what's wrong with them. They can't tell you. Low-income families and poor families, the kids drink water all the time with Kool-Aid. They don't use a lot of soda pop. It's real important. I think the health department's lost sight of it. I'd like to be put on the agenda this month, but this is going to take place starting the 20th. I'd like to ask the health committee to refrain from charging until they've met with me. Let me bring in some case for them, and I feel strongly enough about this. If they are going to charge for this, for my district in the town of Constantia, I'm going to pay for all the water samples so the people down there can have their water tested. This is very important. I'd like the legislators' support on this. I'd like the health committee to address it this month, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have just a brief report for you. The Director of Arts and Culture for Oswego County is on vacation and asked me to bring this brief report and give it to you. On your chairs, you will find the latest copy of the newsletter for Arts and Culture. Remember, you are the people who have the vision to fund this agency and continue its good works in Oswego County. The article that I'm going to be referring to was in the Palladium Times, and a lot of you don't get that paper. Arts and Culture for Oswego County is pleased to announce the 1995 Partnership in the Arts, PETA, grant recipients. This grant program is designed to create, promote, and nourish business partnerships with artistic and cultural organizations. 4 organizations were chosen to receive funds allocated by the Oswego County Legislature totaling $7,500. This money is directed back into the Oswego County area for the artistic and cultural growth and enjoyment of our residents. The Central Business District was awarded $1,500 for cultural and education performances and demonstrations at this year's October Pumpkin Festival in East Park, Oswego. This was the Pumpkin Festival's second year as a recipient. In the second year, the Oswego City Savings Bank has contributed $1,250 as the festival's matching business partner. The Fulton Music Education Department will receive $2,000 toward performances of 4 separate ensembles from the Syracuse Symphony. The wind, brass, string, and percussion ensembles will perform in Fulton, and several clinics dealing with these instruments will be presented. Nestle's gave $350, Larry's Music $200, and Fulton Savings Bank $200, who are the business partners contributing to these performances. The Salmon River Fine Arts Center will receive $1,500 to sponsor an Oswego County student art exhibit featuring junior and senior high school students. Several workshops by prominent local artists will be given throughout the summer. The students' work will be displayed at the 1996 Oswego County Fair. Key Bank gave $750, and the Salmon River Fine Arts Center have joined forces to bring this project to the community. Harvest for the Arts, Resources, and Programming, HARP, will bring a traveling exhibit and documentary video on Montserrat Arts for Oswego County using $2,500 awarded by the Partnership in the Arts grant. This project will be seen in schools, galleries, nursing homes, libraries, and wherever it is requested. The business partner working with HARP to bring this to the community is Mitchell Frenick, who gave $750. In its second year, the Partnership in the Arts is proving to be a huge success. The main idea of creating and nurturing a business arts partnership is exemplified in all of the recipients. Especially important is the fact that 3 of the 4 organizations have only one business sponsor. This situation is perfect for each partner to benefit from the relationship, one financially and one promotionally. Arts and Culture is proud of the work that these organizations did to establish their relationships with their business partners. In this age of artistic cutbacks, involvement of the private sector is becoming more important than necessary in order to maintain artistic and cultural growth. Another important aspect of this grant program is the amount of money contributed to the arts by the business sector. This year, a total of $3,500.
As the program grows, so will the business involvement and support. It's amazing how the sum of $7,500 has gone so far and affected so many people throughout Oswego County. It's become a catalyst for the artistic and cultural growth and seems to have paved the way for a greater number of successful business arts partnerships. The partnership in the arts program is a wonderful example of business, politics, and the arts working together to make the quality of life better in Oswego County. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the legislature, I did promise to you your auto policy. You would have it at the end of this meeting. However, due to a couple of legal technicalities, we didn't quite get it done. But you will have it prior to the September meeting, and there will be a resolution for September meeting. So it'll go off the mail. Thank you.
Hey, boy, you mean to tell me you're going to bring it up at the September meeting? You want a resolution on the floor in September?
You will receive this prior to the meeting, and there will be a resolution on the floor for the September meeting to either vote or do what you want with it. We have spent a lot of time on this, and we felt time well spent, but it's up to the rest of you what you want to do.
But we have a resolution today with the labor contract, and I understand that part of the problem is that in addressing the car situation, there's some legalities as far as the union's concerned. Is that true or false?
Well, there are a few legalities, yes. So we're going to address that.
Why didn't we incorporate the contract with your report? Somebody fumbled the ball here.
Well, if somebody fumbled, then I did.
Should we vote on this contract today or not?
I would say vote on that.
I'd like to have the deputy county administrator.
It doesn't have anything to do with this contract, the issue involved in the highway.
No, if we approve this contract, it locks us into this legal problem with the car committee.
No, contract, different contract. Not this contract, it's contract on us.
All right. Let me know the right contract.
It could involve this contract. We had a car policy ready to submit, and at the last minute, the administration had some questions, and we're holding off. We're going to review those and meet on the 18th to take a look at that. And part of it would be the assignment of cars. Some of them would be with highway, some may be here. We don't know yet. So maybe that's a good question that Mr. Cronin brought up that we should take a look at.
Are there any other reports of special committees? Not, we'll proceed with the motion, the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that resolution number 4 be tacked on to the end of the meeting because it will require executive session for the convenience of all the people here.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to second that. Motion made and seconded to lower resolution 4 to the end of the meeting. All in favor? Aye. Second? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I may be out of order, but I hope not. If I am, so I am. What about the privatization of the airport? Are we going to get a committee report on that?
September.
September? That went to the Public Works Committee this morning, and when they are through with it and ready to present it in a resolution form, if they are, that will happen next.
Are we going to be able to see what the recommendations are?
Well, will be when the time comes. Resolution is by Legislator Beckwith.
Mr. Chairman, on this resolution, as my fellow legislators can see, we have added three properties. County property 317, county property 316, county Grammy, and county property 326, county Richmond. At this time, I'd like to amend this resolution.
I'd like to add that.
Resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of the deeds of property sold by the Oswego County Legislature, titles to which were acquired by the tax sale of of 1978 through 1991.
Is there any discussion on it other than the amendment that Legislator Beckwith brought? We'll ask for a vote on the amended resolution. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Adopted. Resolution number 3 is by Legislator Ward. Is by Legislator White and Reed.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call upon resolution urging adoption. But first, before we go on this, I'd like to ask Steve Roman to come up and discuss the resolution and the need for it.
Thank you, White. I'll give you a little bit of background. Obviously, some weeks ago, you appointed me to the new position of Commissioner of Human Services. Any experienced manager immediately goes to where the money is and does an assessment about what that structure is capable of doing. I met with John Boy in some of the initial weeks. He was conveying to me his serious concern about some of the capabilities of the health department. I had also been concerned for a number of years about some of the capabilities of the Department of Social Services, because what has been going on for the past number of years is an explosive growth in the amount of money that's being accounted for in both of those departments. As you recall, when you appointed me as Commissioner of Social Services back in 1988, the Social Services budget at that time was $22 million. It's now $55 million. The Health Department probably has also experienced similar increases. I suspect that it has increased by at least 100% over the last decade or so, and is in the vicinity of $22 million. It's a grand total of $77 million on an annual basis that we're required to take a look at and make sure that we make the appropriate claims to ensure that the revenues coming back from the federal and state government minimize the amount of money that the legislature has to put on the table to cover the needed services, mandated services that occur in both health and social services. I contacted Jack Vineski. He did a study of both structures, and his recommendation essentially comes to the conclusion that there needs to be additional capacity to cover the kinds of financial responsibilities that are inherent there. If you take a look at the structures and the number of people involved in that and the job titles, we have been making decisions over the past decade or so that when we identify a need for a child protective worker or a foster care worker or preventive worker or a health nurse, and then we compare that to the need of putting a financial person in there, we have consistently decided to put positions in there that support the protection of children at the foster care, preventive, health kinds of levels. And we have historically not paid attention to the extent that we should in our financial systems. So the conclusion and some of the observations that Mr. Vineski makes in the study, and I have copies back there if you're interested in taking a look at it, is that those structures need to be strengthened. He made the observation that there is not one individual in either of those departments that has an accounting degree. That's important for two reasons. One, you need to be able to have the educational background, and that certainly doesn't negate the fact that people gain experience from working, but we need people that have the technical expertise to not only do the payroll function and the accounting functions that are currently in operation, but we are now on the verge of running smack dab into an enormous revolution on the part of the federal government. With their block grants coming down, they are looking to change all of the rules. So historically, all of the kinds of things that you've done in the past from a financial point of view, in terms of accounting and the reimbursement rates, is going to change literally overnight, and that's coming this fall. So it's my recommendation to you that we seriously consider the reclassification of a vacant accountant position in the health department. Take some money from my part-time account out in DSS, combine that into the reclassification and the creation of what we're referring to as a controller of human services. And this would be an individual that would be responsible for the supervision of both those financial departments. And I believe it's about 20 individuals when you combine the numbers on both sides.
It's 1995 money. It's not new money. And I guess I'm open for questions at that point.
Is that correct? This will not be adding any more employees.
That's correct. We have a vacancy in the accountant position in the, nor any new money.
We have somebody that's in town right now that, you know,
It's my understanding that there are two individuals in the county structure that will meet qualifications that were identified by the personnel department. It's our intention to recruit both within the county structure as well as in Central New York to find somebody who has the talent to take care of this position. The intention is also to create an interview panel, new invitation to the treasurer, Hartranft, to be included on that, along with having a request of the health committee, Jack Nassar, to be included in that recruitment interview process.
that we don't have anyone that has an accounting degree.
We only have accountants in the health department. The highest level position that you have in the ESS is the principal accountant clerk. And that's, I believe, at least 2 levels below John Roy, who's a senior. Did I answer your question?
Steve, how much will this job pay?
The personnel department is classified at N5, and the range for the N5 is $44,000 to $55,000. The comments from Jack Nassar is he believes that we can recruit somebody for that below $50,000 to $48,000. Again, that's something that should be subject to negotiation between the committee and the
Steve, you came before Ways and Means. Did you say that the person was going to be a CPA or other qualifications?
I've got the qualifications right here.
I thought it was CPA, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it does not have to be a CPA. It can be an equivalent to that with experience in other education. But a CPA is part of it.
And the way I understand it right now, we have one person that's a CPA in the treasurer's office, and we also have a budget officer in the budget department, and we're overseeing a $140 million budget roughly. And you're talking now that we're going to be hiring somebody for $77 million in that budget, okay? As a result of shifting that to responsibility to this one position, it seems like it's going to lighten up those other departments in some way. Is there some way, are we going to reallocate their responsibilities, or are we going to eliminate some positions as a result of this, or what's going to happen? It's like you've taken a $140 million responsibility, concentrated somebody on part of it, and then what are we going to do with the other half of this?
I think there's a distinction made between what occurs at the treasurer's department and in the budget office, with respect to what happens at the departmental level. We're claiming for reimbursement for federal and state reimbursements, along with the responsibility for monitoring the very large budget, both the budget and the departmental policy. And that's a completely separate function from what occurs at the treasurer's department and the overall budget responsibilities of Doug Harper. So my point is that we have neglected the capacity in those 2 departments for probably a decade or so, and we need an emphasis there. We're going to accomplish that by taking an existing position, existing dollars, reclassify that, take some other money, some part-time, temporary account, and to fund that. So we will have a decrease in that part-time, temporary account, an increase in that particular line for accountant to cover the costs of this position.
During that committee meeting, you explained that this position.
Can you speak up, sir, Charlie?
During our committee meeting, you explained that this position would be at least 70% federal and state reimbursement. That's still correct?
They may go as high as 84. We don't have all the details.
Would they?
At a minimum, 70%.
Would they continue to reimburse us, or is that a one-time thing?
No, that's not going to.
Our current CPA that we have in the county is only classified as an M4. Why is this position being targeted as an M5?
really a personnel issue. You hear what he said here?
Specific job duties, Steve listed out in great detail on the job position sheet. That sheet gets reviewed by Maureen Sullivan, and that's up to the service part of our department. Specifically, the job duties of this job carry enough weight, responsibility, and range of responsibility to justify a grade 5 over grade 4. That comparison is made on the duties, comparing duties by different, and the weight of grade 5 with the new position opposed to grade 4.
Steve, couple questions. You said this position is 70-some% reimbursed by the state. I guess I question, not you, but the state, with the tenor in both Washington and Albany at this point, how can we guarantee this will continue? And if we do create this position, then it winds up, if those funds are cut or block grants are given, being a totally funded county position. Is that correct?
I think that's an issue facing the entire county government. I mean, given the extent to which the federal government is looking at redoing literally all of the funding streams coming from the feds down to the state and the local, there are no guarantees for anything.
Would we know better about this? I brought this up earlier. Would we know better about the odds if this weighted with the 1996 budget? I guess the other part of that question is, what's the hurry?
I think the hurry is that you need somebody on board that begins from the starting blocks to understand the new rules compared to the old rules. If you wait strategically until the 96 budget passes and then deal with the authorization of dollars available January 1st of 1996, you are literally 5 or 6 months behind the curve. And this is going to be a big wave crashing. We need to get ready. Quite frankly, the enormity of the social revolution that's going on in Congress, and I don't debate it one way or the other, is bigger than what happened in the Roosevelt years. They are literally rewriting social policy in the way in which the national government has redistributed dollars. And they are moving from an entitlement from the individual in terms of their eligibility for Medicaid or public assistance or health services to one in which the state has an entitlement. And they are going to cap those dollars at 1994 levels, at least this is the anticipation, and then from then the states have the ability with that trade-off to do a lot of programmatic innovations. The bottom line is that there is going to be a very large amount of money taken away from the states. The point is, well, yeah.
Where are you going to come from if these things are taken away from us and it looks good that it's going to be done?
You face a bigger problem than just the issue of one particular position and its reimbursement rate. If you're talking about the expenditure of somewhere between $44,000 and $55,000 for a position, and the 70-30 split there, the amount of money that local share represents in your $140 million, and then take that against the backdrop of what's going to occur with the federal government, it's an insignificant issue. You really need to get your capacity together on a local level to understand what the changes are going to do to you, and you can't wait for that. You need to get ahead of it, and that's my point.
How long is the position that we're combining to reclassify been vacant?
4 weeks, 5 weeks, about a month.
The other question I have is, you mentioned that we can't guarantee this is going to be 70% reimbursed continually forever because of what's going on in Washington.
I can't guarantee that my position or any of the department has.
Which I understand. So my question is, we have to look at the big picture too. And the big picture is based on, I'd like Doug to answer this question. Can he tell us or give us an idea of what the effect of the reassessment that Scribe made in regards to the nuclear plants, at least give us an idea of what type of revenue we're going to lose from that reassessment?
Well, we're not going to lose any revenue actually
it gets spread out to different taxing entities, from Scriba to other towns to cities. Until I get the equalization rate, I can't tell you exactly what that effect is going to be. If the equalization rate stayed the same for everybody, I would say that it would increase everybody a couple of percent.
Are we going to get that tax?
No. We're going to raise them on different parcels. That's the situation. When Scriba goes down, in effect, if we raise the same amount of taxes, somebody else pays for it. The mix is different. Yes, the mix is different.
Well, what is the effect do we have to spread out?
I'm not sure what that assessment is, Dan. I can't give you the answer right now, Dan. I don't have all of the information, and the equalization rate plays such a big part in it. I got to wait until I get those.
I'd just like to ask Doug almost the same question. I understand what you're saying, I understand what he's saying. Of a reduction, are they going to have that you're going to have to spread equally throughout the county? How much of a reduction are they getting?
Is Scriba getting?
Yes.
County tax. The best information I can give you is it looks like it could be about $1.5 million.
That $1.5 million, and that $1.5 million, if that's the number, would have to be dispersed throughout the county, so their taxes have to come up to pick up that deficit, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to ask another question along these lines. Do you get any indication out of the state of New York what's going to happen? And the reason I'm asking this is that I'm dealing with budget in Albany, and with the commission, we have been requested this year, we've already cut 20%, is to cut 7% off of our operating budget. And we've got to submit a plan by September 1st to the budget for next year of a 22% reduction. And I'm wondering what the state, we've heard this 1.5 million that we're going to get hit with because of the nuke plant situation and the assessment. What is the state telling you? I know we're getting it already, that you're figuring 15, 20%, at least you're going to have to reduce your budgets. I wonder what they're going to do to what we receive in money that's going to add to this 1.5 million. Do you get any indication?
I wonder what they're going to do too. Basically, they're going to do everything they can to protect themselves, and some of those things are going to hurt us. They're going to hold up our reimbursements just as long as they can. That's been pretty standard procedure for the last 3 or 4 years now. I know in talking with Bill Rouse that there was an awful lot of revenue that was very late in coming in this year. In fact, it got to be a little bit of a concern. The things that Steve is talking about, if the states get the money to hand out to the counties, there will be less coming our way. I don't think there's any question about that. There will be lower caps. All the kinds of things that they can do to save money at the state level, and some of those things will cost us more. I don't know specifically which ones. We're quite a ways away from the state budget. In fact, we're only a few months into their state budget.
Do you get any dollar indication of what it's going to cost us?
No. No.
I think we're drifting a bit. I have the floor. You can rebut if you wish, Mr. Shepard. I think that this argument, if it's going to be made on this particular item, it should be made on every item before us. I think that this particular item, that it's 70 to 80%, which is funded from outside, we have taken the position consistently in this legislature that when a position is removed from funding, that it would be reanalyzed as to whether or not the county would indeed support it. I would say that we have a need to support our constituents in this particular issue. The few dollars that are concerned with this, and I'm not trying to minimize the amount of money here in terms of a $15,000 spread perhaps between the present account position and the other position. But what concerns me is that the federal government and the state government takes great credit for cutting their budgets. It creates more havoc at the local level.
I think this is what we're addressing here today, is that we have a need to have somebody keep up with these changes on behalf of our constituents, because it's not the same old ball game where you can just have somebody who's been doing a job for a number of years do it. And it becomes a matter of you're bringing in millions at that point. I think at the budget time, if you want to make that move to cut particular items in the budget, to go ahead and do it. I think that's your right to do it. But in this particular issue, in terms of the amount of county dollars that are concerned, with the safeguard that if the money is removed, this legislature can cut that position as well as any other position. I think we have that safeguard. But not to accept the problem that Steve faces now in terms of the changing times does not make very good management sense, not only in terms of management of the organization, but ultimately in terms of the return to our people.
Call the roll. So I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Hanson,
You didn't get a second?
we're voting on the Hanson,
No.
Skinner,
Yes.
Edith,
No.
Bryant,
No.
Brewer,
No.
Mahaski, Boynton,
Yes.
Weinhold, Crawley,
Yes.
Johnson,
No.
Keeney,
Yes.
Beckwith, McMahon,
No.
Murray,
No.
Warndorf,
No.
Garrett,
Yes.
Greenfield,
Yes.
Bashak,
Yes.
Shalfo,
No.
Hansi,
No.
Chutney, yes. Turner, Walker,
No.
Bateman,
No.
Sedek,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Randall,
Yes.
Balcom,
Yes.
Reed, Chesbro,
No.
Church,
Yes.
Buck,
No.
Tabor,
Tabor?
This is tough. I said on the committee, I have a lot of questions, I would say yes.
Yes or no?
Russell,
Gee.
yes, 609.52. No, 572.28. That's 35.94.
Votes 609.52 yes, 572.28 no, 35.91 absent. Resolution passes.
That was the closed debate, no more debate. That was the motion to close debate. That's why people were saying it was a hard decision, other ones were saying it wasn't a hard decision. We were only doing the question to go through the debate.
I didn't hear that said at all. That's why I asked.
Well, could we please clarify that and take a vote again?
Sure. Be glad to.
Well, I'd like to have everybody, we voted on it, Frank said it, and if that's what it is, we should vote again on it.
What are we voting on?
Well, if it wasn't to cease debate, that was not to cease debate, and I'd like to have that said, it was not to cease debate, it was to move on the motion.
We did say that several times.
I'm not sure, no, we didn't hear it.
Made a motion to move the question, and I second it.
What does that mean? That's what we voted on.
Okay, we will now vote on the resolution itself. Right, resolution number 2.
This will be a vote on the resolution, the actual resolution.
Read the heading.
Okay, I'll read the heading. Resolution reclassifying an existing position of accountant to create a position of controller for human services in the Department of Health and Social Services. And you're now voting on that resolution. Hanson,
No.
Skinner. Edith.
No.
Bryant.
No.
Brewer.
No.
Mahaski. Boynton.
Yes.
Weinhold. Frawley.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Keeney.
Yes.
Beckler.
No.
McMahon.
No.
Murray.
No.
Warendorf.
No.
Jarrett.
Yes.
Greenfield.
Yes.
Benchak.
Yes.
Shalfo.
No.
Ponzi.
No.
Chetney. Turner. Walker.
No.
Bateman.
No.
Aceta.
Yes.
Babcock. Brown. Ward.
Yes.
Randall.
Yes.
Balcom.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Chesbro.
No.
Church.
Yes.
Buck.
No.
Tabor. Russell.
Yes. Madam Clerk, please.
This initial vote that we took, the way I saw it was that we were voting to end discussion. Now, no carried that initial vote. That means discussion must continue.
Yes, carried.
To end it? Yeah. Well, didn't the majority say no, which means we must continue?
Absent 35.91.
All right, the vote on the resolution, the reclassification resolution is yes, 552.26, no, 629.54, absent 35.91. The resolution defeats. The next resolution is by Legislator Donald Ward. It's resolution number 3.
The resolution I'm about to offer brings back to the subject of videotaping for the third or fourth or fifth time in the last 18 months. The committee does not support this resolution after discussing it. We feel that this is an issue which has been talked about in another form called privatization to some extent. We feel this is a perfect example of where government should stay out of it. It should not be taxpayer funded. It should be totally subscribed by the individuals who desire to pay for it. Therefore, if there's a public outcry for videotaping, it should be done through the video or through the cable companies, and let them come forward and videotape these proceedings and take us to the public. The issue of taxpayer expense here, whether direct through this resolution or indirect, because it has been talked about having this done by internal departments such as promotion and tourism, is still a taxpayer expense, which we do not feel should be undertaken by the taxpayers for this particular function. Last month on the legislator's desk, there was a packet of information put out by Ed Marks from his department concerning some public meetings that he had had. And from that, I would quote that there are approximately 122,000 people in Oswego County, 27,000 of which are served by cable. That means that less than 25% of Oswego County can take advantage of this particular service and see these tapings. For those reasons, the General Government Committee decided not to support this resolution. And I offer it at this time, Mr. Chairman, and do not urge its adoption.
Resolution establishing a videotape record of the Oswego County Legislature meetings and authorizing budgetary modifications therefore.
In the next to the last resolve that $2,000 be transferred, I would request that the committee change that and have that resolved no more than $2,000. Because it appears as though they're going to spend $2,000. I understand they're not going to, But I think when we put a dollar amount on something, if you put it out there, you're telling everybody just how much you're willing to spend for these services. So I would ask that they change that to resolve no more than $2,000.
Motion has been made and seconded to amend this resolution and, in the resolution that $2,000 be transferred. Did you say not more than?
No more than.
Question on that? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Prime example why I believe videotaping should be done is the fact that Mr. Crowley had to have a whole paragraph struck from the minutes because it was wrong. Where do you turn back and find out if it was wrong or wasn't? You can take these videotapes if that's what you want to do, and they can be brought to Blockbuster or wherever and put in there and to be rented free of charge. If that's what you want to do, so that your constituents throughout the county can have availability to this. I really feel very strongly that this is something that is record, and we should be providing to our constituents in Oswego County.
Legislator,
With all due respect to Legislator Chambers' comment there, I don't think that's the issue before us at this point. We approved videotaping well over a year ago in the General Government Committee on here. Our contention is that we do not fund it with taxpayers' money. And I think that's the bottom line of this issue. Yes, I've been the one that's brought this to the floor the last year or so. We've talked quite a bit about it, and I appreciate it being brought to the floor. If it does go down the feed, it'll be the last you hear from me about it. I've had a lot of constituents say they like it, they watch it. I talked the following day, after I read the paper that the Pal Times is not in support of it. I called Kathy Wilkins from Motion Tourism, and they said that they did not have the equipment, so I thought about doing it in-house, and didn't have the knowledge of having somebody trained to do it. I don't believe there's anything wrong with paying. I know we're trying to cut back and save money. We're putting a request out there for $2,000 at the most. It might come in at $1,000. Like I say, I have a lot of constituents that aren't able to go to the meetings. The papers don't print every word, everything. They pick and choose what they want to write. And the camera doesn't lie. It shows everybody's facial expressions, who's doing, who's working. Constituents get to see their legislators at work. And I believe it's a worthwhile cause. And the guy that's doing it now isn't receiving any pay. He has said that he might stop doing it. If he stops doing it, we're going to have no one doing it. And I just feel that it's a worthwhile cause. I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
This is probably a stupid question, so I don't mind being made a fool out of this one. But I guess I'd like to know, we're talking about using taxpayers' money to put information forth to the constituents of the county. Now, we could debate over how many people get this thing, but Time Warner, if you read the latest their expansion plans for both Onondaga and Oswego County, you can see that the numbers of people getting cable in the future are going to be greater. But the question is, how is it any different expending $2,000 to have this videotaped than spending $35,000 a year to publish the delinquent tax rolls? Why aren't we saying to the papers, why don't you come, or the media, and publish that because that's a public interest? What's the difference? Why don't we just have a booklet out for those things instead of publishing them? That's what I'm asking.
Business, so we have to do that.
All right, but if we set the rules in this legislature, I'm interested in doing this, being the devil's advocate here, if we set the rules in this legislature and set it on an annual basis, the way that you'll find out if your property is on delinquent tax roll is that you must come to the treasurer's office and pick up the book of county tax properties rather than read about it in the newspaper. Does the law say we have to put it in the media, or does it say we just have to make it available to the public?
The law requires that it's public. Your official newspapers.
What I get this is it, does it say official newspaper or it has to be published or whatever way you designate it.
Actually, it says it has to be published in the newspaper with the largest circulation in your in the county.
Okay, that's what I want to know. There is a law that
There is a law that requires that.
we have to put that information out.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And also allows us to collect back from the taxpayers what it costs them.
We do go back to advertising?
Yes.
It's very interesting to listen to Legislator Buck talk about the tax numbers. And I wondered what would be the difference between paying for videotaping and putting out the county newspaper that we do a couple of times a year with the legislators and pictures on the back and certain articles that are written, I guess, in promotion of tourism. I don't know how it's done. I've got wondered what the difference is between spending county money. The bottom line is spending county money for doing something like this. What's the difference from doing something like that that gets certain issues out to the public and a videotape which gets it out to the public as well?
I think everybody gets the newsletters and wait to start something gets the video. I think that's,
If we inform one person of what's going on here, I think we've done a job. I get a lot of my constituents that call and say, we've seen this on the television. I don't get cable myself. They stop just before they get to us. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but they do. But I get a lot of constituents that read the newspapers, okay, and see what's going on, and then they'll watch these and they'll say, well, who's this guy from Fulton Clay Brewer? Who's this guy over here that's got his hand up over here? And they'll say different ones, who's this father? What's going on with this issue? And then they'll talk about different things. And I think it's a good thing. If my constituents are calling and saying, we need this kind of information, so I'm going to support the issue.
We pay Oswego County Weekly, it's a very nice sum for being our county newspaper. And that is a purchased newspaper that only a certain amount of people get. I don't see that any different from the cable. And when you're talking about cable, but because I'm pushing it for me, my term doesn't even get this because it's coming out of an item. So all for 2 years, it has not been that I can promote myself because my town hasn't gotten it. So I really think that you should address the fact that we pay the newspaper media to be our county newspaper. Well, then maybe we should also offer this to the public.
Legislator Beckman.
I believe we're talking about two different issues here. This issue is the time spent during this meeting and how it's being covered. And the fact is that newspapers are spending money or hiring people to come here. You're going to maintain a level playing field. Cable companies must do the same.
Yes. Yes, we are public servants. We are here because we are elected by our constituencies and our town. I think it is a public service for those constituents who doesn't have that service to see what actually goes on within this chamber. Myself, I have never seen it. I know it's on Channel 6, I get cable, but I have never watched it. But I've had constituents in my township call me and was elated to the fact that they could hear what's going on, they could zero in on some legislator that they didn't know and they get his feelings and maybe a lot of our constituents don't really know what our feelings are. But when you get a camera like that staring at you and you have to say yes or no, or you have to vote on a certain issue, I think they get to know you a little better. And maybe it would help you get reelected, and maybe it wouldn't help some get reelected. And for the position of spending $2,000, I just think it's peanuts myself, being very conservative as I am. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I look at this as a direct attack on the taxpayers on the fringe areas of the county. We have most of the high population areas that get this service on their cable. The people and the constituents on the outlying districts are then supporting high population areas without getting any part of the service at all. And that is another reason that I'll reiterate that we should not be supporting this for a minority portion of the county.
I'd like to say something about the statistics he had on 27,000 people you say represented on
cable TV, national TV.
That was important in that Martin study.
I don't think them figures are exactly right. Another thing I like to say in regard to, you just made a statement about people in the country not receiving some of the services. We got county roads all over the county, that the county blacktop and everything else. The cities don't have any roads blacktop at all. So at the same token, there's a lot right there. And I agree with the fact that I agreed when Tim first started taping me that I would pay him, and I've kept my agreement ever since. That every week, every one of these tapes I pay. And I think a lot of people like to see it.
Well, Legislator Brewer just stole a little bit of my comments, but getting back to these statistics about the number of people that can't watch cable TV, you can liken that to the number of people that are going to use a bridge out in Redfield or Boylston or Williamstown or whatever, that the people from the east end of the county never get help there. So we spend $35,000, $50,000, $100,000 for bridges, and we never use it. Now, I don't think it's fair to say just because you don't have cable and you can't watch it, you shouldn't pay a small amount of money. I know you're going to make an argument for public safety and all the roads, and that's fine. But you can't compare, we have to consider this as a county as a whole, and that's different areas what has access to different things.
Probably wasn't anybody that was more against it in the beginning than myself, and that's because of the way it was thrown upon us. I disagree with Legislator Russell. I live in an area out there in Stanton. We don't get this on our cable, but I've got a VCR. Anytime I want to have a tape made someplace, I can get it and I can do it. And just about everybody I know in my town has a VCR. So I'm going to support it.
I think we're comparing apples with pears here. Apples with pears. We're comparing apples with pears, or basically what we would be doing is be subsidizing the cable. And I don't think the county should be in that business.
Yes, sir.
I certainly support filming, and have been, but I feel that the TV company can get a sponsor to sponsor this, the same as any ad on TV, the same as any program. The taxpayer shouldn't have to pay for it. The TV company can do this, and I'd like to see them do that.
The cable company doesn't receive anything, I believe, for they show it for free airtime for the county of Oswego. And last month I mentioned, it wasn't in the minutes, and I was going to correct it, but we can put it in for next meeting. Legislator Murray says, he votes very conservative. Well, I know for the last 3 years I have voted very conservatively. And I'm going to state it again, this county has spent a lot of money, and this is chump change for what this county spends, chump change. Thank you.
I was one of the legislators that paid for this, and there's no cable on my half of my road for over half a mile. There never will be.
There's no negative lights out there either.
I don't have what? I have lights. We also have running water.
You got a pump it?
Please be aware that the cable stations do not come in and take these. We introduce to the access channels, the public access channels, and that they can run them on their own time and their own schedule. It's not something that the cable company can come to us. They're doing business services.
I understand what Legislator Beckman was alluding to, but Mr. Walker brought up the correct thing. The cable channels derive no revenues from what's put on the public access channel whatsoever, Jack. And in most cases, if my understanding is correct, at least in Fulton anyhow, the tapes are given to the video places, and you can walk in at no charge and get the tape and look at it. So most of our towns have someone near at hand who rents videos, and those tapes can be put there. So really, it's not costing, no one's deriving a revenue off of taking the tape except the individual who is unfortunate enough to have to be here to take the tape.
Yes, I just wanted to remark that it's not, although it's not a lot of money, it's not a required service. I mean, tax dollars, we should spend our tax money on required services, essential tax services.
I don't have cable, and I could have, but I don't have it. But my understanding it costs $13 a month before cable, so I think somebody's making some money somewhere. And when you go rent a film, it does cost you money to rent a film.
Not to take these meetings.
Not these meetings. Right.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's been mentioned more than once, we have a very specific question here. It's not whether or not to videotape. The legislature has shown support in the past for videotaping and the values thereof. But the question remains, shall it fall upon the taxpayer to pay for something which is being done without the taxpayer paying for it? Now, are we in a position to add additional things that aren't required by law, is not an official document, will not be an official document? I don't think it's right to be adding it that way. We have Office of Promotion and Tourism, which presently is getting sponsors out there to help provide services to county residents now. Business sponsors. We have the Division of Solid Waste, who also, to keep the budget down, is getting private sponsors out there with this hazardous waste collection day. Continuing programs such as that are of direct service to all of the county, are gathering sponsors to reduce the taxpayer's burden. I don't see why we should hit these people in the head for doing a good job getting sponsors by saying, well, heck, you don't have to go get a sponsor. Don't even bother trying. We'll pay for it. I don't think this is the time, or never would be the time, to burden the taxpayer one more time with something that is not either required or even an official document.
Yeah. Jared brought up a good point. He's trying to say that we shouldn't be spending taxpayer dollars. Just one resolution before, we just tried to make a new job, create a new job with taxpayers' money. Do we need to hammer him on the head with a new job, with benefits, maybe a car? Absolutely not. What is your car? Well, you might get a car, you might get a Crown Vic. And, so, who's the liberals here? And who's the conservatives? We're supposed to be saving money, absolutely. It's $2,000. We're making it sound like it's $20 million. It's pennies.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor of roll call?
Now, this is a roll call vote with the amendment that it's no more than 2,000, right?
I thought you said no, that was just an A or an F.
You wanted no more than $2,000. You don't. The resolution itself as amended. Answer.
No. Wait a minute. You said right. I just voted no on the resolution. Right. We heard.
Skinner.
No.
Edith.
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
Brewer.
Yes.
Boyd.
Yes.
Weinhold. Yes. Crowley.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Keeney.
Yes.
Beckwith.
No.
McMahon.
Definitely yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Warendorf.
Yes.
Jarrett.
No.
Greenfield.
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 No.
Chat.
No.
Shalfo.
No.
Thompson.
Yes.
Chet. No. Turner. Walker.
Yes.
Bateman.
Yes.
Asada.
No.
Babcock.
No.
Brown. No. Ward.
No.
Randall.
No.
Balfour.
No.
Reed. What? Reed.
Yeah.
Chesbro.
Yes.
Church.
No.
Buck.
Yes.
Tabor. Yes. Russell.
No.
Department of Social Services.
Is there any discussion on this resolution? Not all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Next resolution, number 6, is by Legislator Terry Reynolds.
Mr. Chairman, I'll this resolution master to adopt.
Clerk to read the heading.
Resolution authorizing budgetary modifications, Department of Social Services.
Any discussion on this resolution? Not all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Next resolution, number 7, is by Legislator Anthony.
Mr. Chairman, I present this resolution recommended to adopt.
Clerk to read the heading.
Resolution authorizing budgetary modifications, Board of Elections.
Is there any discussion on this resolution? Not all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Next resolution is by Legislator Helen Shetty.
Chairman, I offer this resolution under adoption.
Ask the clerk to read the heading.
Resolution authorizing budgetary modifications, Department of Promotion and Tourism.
Any discussion on legislative amendment?
Yes, I'd like to congratulate Kathy on her appointment as regional director and let her know how proud I am, and I'm sure everybody else in the legislature, of the work she's been doing and the work that she will do. Thank you.
Not all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Next resolution, number 9, is by Legislator Shetty.
Chairman, I offer this resolution under adoption.
I'll ask the clerk to read the heading.
Resolution authorizing budgetary modifications, Department of Promotion and Tourism.
Any discussion on this resolution? Not all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Resolution is adopted. Next resolution, number 10, is by Legislators Tracy Brewer and Theodore Jerry.
Mr. Chairman, this following resolution I urge its adoption.
Ask the clerk to read the heading.
Resolution authorizing budgetary modifications, County Administrator's Office.
Legislator Cross.
Mr. Chairman, what are we buying for $50,000? What are we getting for our money? Go ahead.
This is for professional advice and help in making sure we've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's in terms of our lead agency status. This is a very professional, exacting piece that or position that we're taking on this thing. And in order to stand any contest, once a decision has been made, we have to make sure it's done precisely according to law.
Where'd you come up with 50,000 rather than 10 or 5 or 18? Or where'd you arrive at 50,000?
Well, that's not an exact figure. We have a list of costs. That was a figure that we felt would be adequate to do that. If you'd like to amend that, that would be fine.
You know, I got a problem with popping out $50,000. I remember we popped out, I think it was $700,000 or $600,000 or $700,000 to plow snow that we didn't need to plow. So we only got $200,000 of it back. Is this another one of those debacles?
Whatever is not sure that if we don't need any of it, it will all go back. Whatever we don't use will go back. But we have to have some there.
Wow, $50,000 seems quite a bit of money for some legal fees, and that's quite a bit of money to ask for our constituents, I would think, take off a hit like that. Is there a possibility that services could be rendered at that point, after the services are rendered, they could submit a bill and all that? They want the money up front? What happened to the other? Pardon me?
You're not going to do business with somebody until you have the money in your pocket. Okay? We cannot do business with somebody and say to them, well, when you send us a bill, we'll take it to the legislature and see if they feel like paying. You gotta get the commitment up front. We don't pay them any money until after the services is provided. But we can't even start doing business at all unless we know we have money to pay it.
I was voted no for something that I felt very strongly we needed, but that I couldn't make myself vote for that kind of money.
What was it?
And that was a position. Here I'm reading whereas it is desirable, and I'm looking at and speaking to other towns that have found me where they utilize their own lawyers to do the work for seeker, and we have a county attorney that could do this work. I don't support authorizing $50,000 for, if our attorney tells us that he's not capable of doing this, then we should look at it again. But if I can't support something that I feel strongly about, I certainly can't support this.
Legislator David is a member of the legislature. This is not just for attorney's fees. I'm very important to this whole thing. Engineering.
Speak up there with me.
This is a great deal for engineering. This is an engineering type of thing, the seeker review, if you will. Very involved, very detailed, and it has to be done exactly so. We have cut staff so that we're handling the business at hand basically at this point. And this is a major undertaking, not just something just throw our existing staff out there and they'll just find a way to handle it. It has to be done just right. They have to be committed full-time to this type of thing for perhaps a long period of time. So I don't think it's anything to just throw as an aside. Just have to do it very seriously, do it properly, or don't bother with it at all. Either do it or don't. That's
Mr. Chairman, I might be mistaken here, but it says $50,000 on the back of the resolution, but it does not state that in the resolution. And it should be up to $50,000. I would recommend amending it to have that dollar figure in the resolution itself.
It does say on the attached budget to transfer the funds to the last dollar.
Yeah.
It doesn't bring you up. Well, it tells you what it is on the. I know.
Legislator McMahon.
Mr. Jarrett, stating that we've got $50,000 estimate of this. When this came through Ways and Means, I do support us being lead agency, but I'm surprised that you had a sheet that shows what this $50,000 adds up to, because we didn't get this in Ways and Means. Could you provide us with a breakdown of this $50,000 if you've got it in your hand, so that we can see what this breaks down, $10,000 for this one, $15,000 for this one?
I don't have a breakdown for this. Did you have it? Did you find it?
No, I did say in Ways and Means, you did say it down that you had an estimate of well, yeah. And I would just wonder what this $50,000 is broken down into.
Isn't that the figure we should cover the cost as part of the engineering?
I understand that. But what is the breakdown of $50,000? 5,000 here, 10 here, 2 here, for this kind of thing?
I don't have an estimate. I don't have an estimate. No one knows that.
Okay. The $50,000, understand, obviously, we're not going to spend money that we're not building. The issue is, do you want to retain counsel and engineering to handle
We
this?
got one. Nobody asked him to make a comment. We go through the chair.
Mr.
Chairman, people in the audience can ask him.
Mr. Chairman, I've been asked to present. Will the Deputy County Attorney please respond?
I apologize, Mr. Calvo, that's all right. I did not touch it. All I was trying to say is that in this particular issue, we were talking about retaining counsel and engineering services to conduct a secret review of the Transco business. We don't know exactly what it's going to cost because we don't know how much we're going to uncover. We're obviously the tax bills, the county engineering and legal bills for the general run $100 to $125 an hour, depending on who you're dealing with. I can't give you a breakdown because I don't know what we're going to be doing yet. I don't know when the long-term form seeker comes in, if we're all done there, or if we're going to go take it to court, or if we're going to, where this thing is going to go. What we're talking about now is, are you willing to make a commitment to have the county handle the lead agency status for seeker on this issue?
All right, question I have. I understood discussions on this correctly. Number one, I definitely think it's a very important activity that we should be lead agency. Number two, We don't even know if I'm correct, Jack, and I'll address you so that, from my understanding, we don't even know if we're going to need this money. We don't know if we're going to have any consulting fees. We have sent statements back to Transco? Yes. All right. We will not know if we need this money until Transco responds to us, which may or may not be ever. Okay? When they respond to us, what's our time frame that we have to decide what we're going to do about it? Because I guess I'm being a broken record today. What's their hurry? Can we, if they respond within the next 30 days, do we have 30 days or 15 minutes to respond to them?
I think maybe Mark and Bruce would know that my concern with this whole process is that we're going to be lead agent and secret, is that there are time frames that we have to hit. Okay? And my concern is that our existing staff is not sufficiently knowledgeable about this subject to be able to hit those. And if we are going to be lead agents for this process, I want to make sure that the county does not miss any of those time frames, and that we have people retained that will make sure that that doesn't happen. Again, if you transfer the money and you don't spend it, it goes back to the general fund, obviously. If we are not going to spend anything other than what we are properly billed for, that will have to go through, I don't know how many hoops it's got to go through to a building process. What we're talking about here really is, if you want to be lead agent in secret for this issue, that we're telling you, we need cash to handle that. How much cash is that? I wish I could tell you. I don't know what the
Mr. Chairman, this resolution is being signed by committee. I think we ought to send it back to them. Mr. Chairman, this legislature has to face one fact, that you must pass this resolution because you cannot allow this thing to happen in this county over and over and over again. If we play around with this thing and back next month to appropriate funds to handle this situation, we're going to find ourselves in a box that you ain't never going to get out of. You can't have these people coming in here to have as I read it, it was Hartfield or something like that. There might be one in my backyard next time I turn around, or your backyard. You got to stop it now, and let's quit monkeying around, and let's appropriate the money, and let's get on with it.
Legislator Brown attended the meeting last night in New Haven, and one of the suggestions made by the town zoning board representatives was the fact that they could actually pass a moratorium on this, which could halt it, probably for a duration of time anyways. I think we're reacting very quickly to something that could possibly be stopped right in the town. $50,000 again is a lot of money. When I read this and it says it is desirable and not required.
Well, legislator support what Ed Crowley said, which is always intriguing. But one of the things that I've been very pleased with the legislature throughout the years is our protection of the environment, doing what needs to be done in the way of solid waste. This organization that's proposed to put this in town needs to go through the same hoops that we have gone through. And if we don't have the resolve to back this by saying money up to $50,000 if needed, it's not a commitment, Shirley, but if you don't, I would imagine the company that's involved with this will look tomorrow and say, that's backbone. There's not much backbone in that legislature to say that you're going to put up the money to run the seeker process. It's the seeker process, which is not something that Bruce is going to do out of his hip pocket.
And if we are really serious about protecting our environment, if we're really serious about controlling solid waste within our county in terms of the needs of the people, I don't see how we can go against this proposal. It shows a real breaking away from what's been a very strong tradition within this county, because who knows what's going to come in the next time. I've fought 2 battles already with, as we all know, back in the hazardous waste plan days and what went through that, how the people rallied around. And this does represent, I believe, a threat. Now, if it doesn't represent a threat to the people who live in that particular concern, so be it. Let SEEKR run its course, because we are the agency, and then they have to pass through the hoops on it. And I just say that it's not a commitment of $50,000 if needed. But if you don't do that, where's the backup?
I just need to address one of our actions resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I would agree with Legislator Shag and Legislator Crawley. We're going to have to move forward. There's 2 parts to this. One is we've got to make a statement that we want to be lead agency and we got to move. $50,000 is a lot of money. I don't like to spend it unless I see the fine print, but I think we've got to go forward with this. And at the next meeting, have the Chairman of Ways and Means provide us with the detail of what that would be. We've got to send a message out there that we're going to stand up for our system. We're going to take a hard look at this thing, and I would request that we move forward with this and make a decision to do something. We've got to take a stand and do something.
As a member of Rural Resources Committee that put forth a resolution that we would indeed enforce local law number 3, passed in 1990, that said we would allow hazardous waste in our county and carry through with the law that we had on the books, and with the charge of Rural Resources Committee that we protect our land and our environment. I think we have to go ahead with this process and take care of our environmental problems in our county, protect our watersheds and our agricultural districts.
Move the question. Second.
If there's no further discussion, all in favor of this resolution?
Roll call.
You want a roll call?
Yes.
I was just going to say.
It's on the motion now. The resolution. It's on the resolution we're voting.
Point of order. This is a vote on to move this question. I withdraw this.